I was adjusting my cufflinks when the elevator doors opened and Sophia walked out with him. She didn't slow down, didn't look at me first. She walked straight into the center of the room, heels clicking sharp against the marble, and the conversations around us dipped just enough to notice. "This is Ethan," she said, her voice smooth, practiced. "My assistant." He smiled like he had been waiting for that exact moment. Confident, relaxed, like he belonged here. A few people stepped closer. Hands reached out. Names exchanged. Then her eyes moved to me. "And this is Daniel," she added, lighter this time. "He helps with operations." The word helps sat there for a second too long. No one questioned it. Someone nodded at me politely. Another gave a quick smile. Then they turned back to Ethan. I stood where I was. So this is the version of me she chose tonight. The music picked up again. Glasses clinked. Conversations filled the gaps. Sophia didn't look back. Ethan leaned in toward one of the investors, already laughing at something that wasn't that funny. I adjusted my sleeve once. Small movement. Habit. Lucas stepped up beside me a moment later. "That was..." He started, then stopped. I looked at him. He shrugged. "Unexpected." "That's one way to say it," I said. He glanced toward Sophia, then back at me. "You okay?" "I'm fine." He nodded like he didn't believe me, but he didn't push it. Lucas was good at that. Watching, not interfering. The kind of person who saw everything and said nothing. Across the room, Sophia placed a hand lightly on Ethan's arm as she introduced him to someone else. It was subtle, just enough. Enough for people to notice. Enough for them to understand the story she was telling. I picked up a glass from a passing tray. Didn't drink it, just held it. The marble floor reflected the lights above. Clean, bright, sharp. Every laugh echoed a little longer than it should have. Sophia moved through the crowd like she had planned every step. Ethan followed her rhythm easily. I stayed where I was. Someone approached me, a junior manager. Nervous smile. "Hey, Daniel. Good to see you." "You too." He hesitated, looked past me toward Sophia. "Big night, huh?" "Seems like it." He nodded again, unsure what else to say, then excused himself. I watched him walk straight toward Ethan. Of course he did. I finally took a sip from the glass. It tasted flat. Not bad, just empty. Lucas leaned closer again. "You want to say something?" "No." "You could." "I know." He studied my face for a second, like he was trying to find a crack. "There's still time," he said quietly. I let out a small breath. "For what?" "To fix whatever that was." I shook my head once. "Nothing to fix." He didn't respond. Because he understood something I wasn't saying, or maybe he didn't. It didn't matter. Across the room, Sophia caught my eye for a second. Just a second, then she smiled. Not at me, past me, at someone else. I checked my watch. 12 p.m., right on time. Lowered my hand slowly. She planned this. The thought settled without noise. Not anger. Not yet. Just clarity. A server passed by again. I set the glass down untouched this time. Sophia moved closer, finally breaking away from her circle. Ethan stayed behind, still talking. She stopped in front of me, close enough that no one else could. "Here. Just go along with it tonight," she said under her breath. "It looks better." I looked at her. "For who?" "For everyone," she replied quickly. "Don't make it awkward." I'm not the one doing that. Her jaw tightened for half a second, then she smiled again. That same public smile. "Please," she said, softer now. "Just for tonight." Lucas stood a few steps away. Watching. Again, always watching. I held her gaze. There was something different in it tonight. Not hesitation, calculation. "You could have told me," I said. "I am telling you," she replied. "Now." That's not the same thing. She exhaled slowly, like I was making this harder than it needed to be. Daniel, she said, still smiling, don't turn this into something it isn't. I tilted my head slightly. And what? Is it? Just optics, she said. It's a big night, people notice things. They noticed, I said. Her smile flickered, just a little. Good, she replied. That's the point. She stepped back before I could say anything else. Back into the light. Back into the version of herself she wanted everyone to see. Ethan rejoined her immediately, leaned in close, said something that made her laugh. The sound carried, sharp against the marble. Lucas walked up beside me again. She asked you to stay quiet, didn't she? Yes. And? I looked at him. And I said yes. He frowned. Why? I didn't answer right away, because the answer wasn't simple, not to him, because I want to see how far this goes. I didn't say that out loud. Instead, I adjusted. My cufflink again. Small movement. Controlled. It's just one night, I said. Lucas shook his head slowly. Doesn't feel like just one night. No, I agreed. It doesn't. Across the room, someone raised a glass for a small toast. Not official. Just a moment. People gathered closer. Sophia stood at the center again. Ethan beside her. Of ours. Course. I watched as she spoke. Light. Easy. Confident. Every word placed exactly where she wanted it. Every laugh landing where it should. She wasn't nervous. Not even a little. Which meant one thing. She believed in this version of the story. Completely. Checked my watch again. Still 9:12. The second hand moved steadily, unbothered, unaffected, like it didn't care what story anyone was telling. Lucas followed my gaze. You keep checking that, he said. Habit. Or timing. I didn't respond. Because he was closer than he realized, Sophia's voice rose slightly above the room again. And we're just getting started, she said. More laughter, more clinking glass. I watched Ethan lean closer to her again. Watched her not move away. Watched the way people looked at them. Then at me. Then back at them. It wasn't subtle anymore. It didn't need to be. The story had already been accepted. I stood there a moment longer. Then I straightened my jacket. Not rushed. Not tense. Just ready. Lucas noticed. What are you doing? Asked. Nothing, I said. That doesn't look like nothing. I gave a small shrug. It's not my night, I said. He let out a quiet breath. Feels like it should be. I almost smiled. Almost. But it isn't, I said. Not yet. The music shifted again. Slower now. People moved. Repositioned. The room adjusted around her, around them, and I let it. Because sometimes the best way to understand something was to let it play out completely. No interruptions, no corrections, no warnings. Just watch. Just listen. Just remember. I looked at Sophia one more time. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. She thought everything was already decided, and that was the only mistake that mattered. I let her continue, because I wanted to see how far she'd go. The music got louder as the night settled into its rhythm. Sophia didn't leave Ethan's side. She moved with him through every group like they were connected by something invisible. Every laugh she gave him was a little too easy. Every touch on his arm lasted a second too long. I stayed where I was. Not because I had nowhere else to go, because I didn't move first. Lucas stood a few steps away again, watching the room instead of me. You're just going to stand there? He asked quietly. I am standing. That's not what I meant. I know. He exhaled through his nose, like he was holding back more words. Across the room, Sophia raised her glass slightly as she spoke to a group of investors. And Ethan has been helping me manage everything, she said smoothly. Not a pause. Not a hesitation. Ethan smiled like he had earned every word. People nodded, some even looked impressed. No one asked about me. Lucas leaned closer again. She's building a story. She always was, I said. He frowned. And you're just letting her? I looked at him. I'm listening. That didn't comfort him. It wasn't meant to. A new wave of guests arrived at the entrance. The room shifted again. The energy changed. I noticed it before anyone spoke. Richard Carter walked in, Sophia's father. The entire room adjusted posture at once. Even Ethan straightened slightly. Sophia turned immediately, smiling wider, faster. "Dad," she said, walking toward him. Richard Carter barely looked at her first. His eyes moved past her, past Ethan. They stopped on me. For half a second longer than anyone else's ever did. Then he looked away again like I wasn't worth repeating. He approached, slowly, not rushed, not curious. "Certain? Still working under her?" he asked when he reached me. The words weren't loud, but they landed clean. Lucas shifted slightly beside me. I didn't. "One way to say it," I replied. Richard gave a small hum, like that answer confirmed something he already believed. "Good," he said. "Consistency matters." Then he walked past me. No second glance, no greeting, nothing. Lucas muttered under his breath, "Charming family." I didn't respond, because Sophia was already pulling her father into the center of the room. She looked proud. Not of me, of the story she was building around me. Richard stood beside her now. Ethan quickly positioned himself on her other side like he belonged there too. I watched the triangle form. Clean. Intentional. Excluding. Sophia tapped her glass, with a spoon lightly. The room quieted. Not completely, but enough. She smiled. It was the kind of smile that asked for attention and expected obedience. "I just want to say something," she began. Ethan looked at her like he already knew what it was. Richard crossed his arms. Lucas leaned slightly toward me. Something was coming. Sophia continued, voice steady. "Tonight is important to me," she said, a few polite nods. "And I want the people here to know I'm not standing still anymore." Ethan smiled wider. That was his cue. She glanced at him, then at me. Just once. Quick. Deliberate. "And I've been working closely with Ethan," she said. "He's been a huge support in everything lately." That sentence was not new, but the way she said it was. Final. Like she had already decided where everyone belonged in her story. Richard gave a small, approving nod. That was all she needed. Ethan lifted his glass slightly. "Happy to help," he said. Light laughter followed. Too easy, too comfortable. Then Sophia said it. "He's loyal," she said, pointing slightly in my direction without fully looking at me. "That's his best quality." The words hit the room. For a second, nothing moved. Then someone laughed. Then another. Then more. The sound spread like it had permission. Glass clinked against marble again, sharp, uncontrolled. Lucas turned his head, slightly toward me. He didn't laugh. He didn't speak. But I saw the tension in his jaw. Didn't react. Not outwardly. Because reactions belong to people who are surprised. I wasn't. Sophia smiled like she had just delivered a harmless joke. Ethan leaned toward me slightly, voice low. "You should aim higher, man," he said. Casual, confident, like he was offering advice instead of positioning himself above me. I looked at him for a moment. Then I replied. I already did. 3 words. Simple. Clean. Ethan blinked, then smiled again, dismissive. He didn't understand. Of course he didn't. Lucas looked at me again, sharper this time. "You didn't have to say that," he whispered. "I know." "Then why?" "Because it was true," I said. He didn't respond after that. The room moved on quickly. People always do. Sophia turned back toward Richard, continuing her conversation like nothing had happened, like I hadn't been reduced. In front of everyone. Like that was the point. I stepped slightly back from the center. just enough to disappear into the edges again. Lucas stayed close. "You're really calm about this," he said. "I've had practice." That wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth either. Time moved forward again. Another toast began somewhere near the center. Another cluster of laughter formed. Sophia moved through it effortlessly. Ethan stayed close. Richard watched everything, like he was measuring outcomes instead of people. I checked my watch. Still steady. Still 9:12. Lucas noticed again. "You keep doing that," he said. "I know. Why that exact time?" I didn't answer because I wasn't ready to explain it. Not yet. Later, I moved near a quieter section of the hall, closer to a glass corridor overlooking the city. The noise dulled slightly there. That's when I heard her, Sophia's voice. Not loud, not performing, just real. She was speaking to Ethan near the balcony entrance. "I can't keep things the same after tonight," she said. Ethan leaned closer. "What do you mean?" A pause, then her voice again. "After tonight, everything changes." I stopped walking, didn't turn, didn't react, just listened. Ethan didn't respond immediately. Then he said, "For us?" Another pause. "Maybe," she said. That was enough. I looked down at my watch again, still on time, still exact. Lucas appeared beside me again, quieter now. "What did you hear?" he asked. "Enough," I said. From the corner of my vision, Sophia laughed again at something Ethan said, but it sounded different now, less certain, more rehearsed. I adjusted my sleeve once. Slow, controlled. Lucas watched me carefully now. "This feels off," he said. "It is off," I replied. "Then why are we still here?" I finally looked at him, because I needed to hear that. Why? I didn't answer him, because the answer was already forming. Not as a guess. As confirmation. I looked across the room again, at Richard Carter, at Sophia, at Ethan, at the way they positioned themselves, the way they spoke, the way they excluded. Everything, aligned too cleanly, too intentionally. Lucas followed my gaze. Then he understood something too. Not everything, but enough. "This isn't just a party," he said quietly. "No," I replied. My hand rested lightly on my watch again. Still steady. Still. Patient, still waiting. And in that moment, I realized something fully. This wasn't an introduction. This wasn't a celebration. This was a stage, and I had already been placed exactly where they wanted me. But not for the reason they thought. I let the silence sit between us. Lucas spoke. Again, slower now. "Daniel, what is this?" I watched Sophia laugh again in the distance. Then I said it. "One way or another," I said quietly. "This night was planned." And I finally understood what I was standing inside. This wasn't a party. It was a setup. I stepped away from the center of the room for the first time that night, not because I was leaving, because I was changing position. The noise behind me stayed loud. Glass clinked. Laughter rose and fell in waves. Sophia's voice kept pulling, attention like she owned the air itself. I walked through the edge of the hall until I reached a quieter corridor near the service entrance. No cameras there, no spotlight, just enough distance. I took out my phone and made one call. It rang only once. Then, a familiar voice answered. "It's time," I said. There was no hesitation on the other end. "Understood," the voice replied. I ended the call and slipped the phone back into my pocket. Behind me, the party kept going like nothing had changed, but something already had. I turned back, slowly. Sophia was still at the center, laughing with Ethan. Richard stood close by, watching everything with quiet approval. Ethan lifted his glass higher. "To new beginnings," he said. People echoed it. Glasses rose. The sound of celebration filled the room again. He was smiling too wide. Too sure. He didn't understand what he was celebrating. None of them did. The main doors opened again. This time, no one noticed at first. Then the energy shifted. Subtle. Like the room had taken a breath and forgotten to exhale. Margaret Collins walked in. No announcement. No hesitation. Just presence. Even the music felt smaller. I saw it happen immediately. Heads turned one by one. Conversations broke mid-sentence. Ethan lowered his glass slightly. Richard straightened. Sophia paused, but she didn't fully register it yet. Margaret walked straight forward, not toward the crowd, toward me. Lucas wasn't here now, only distance and silence between steps. She stopped beside me. "You called," she said. "I did," I replied. Her eyes moved once across the room. Quick scan, then back to me. "Everything is in place," she said. "It is," I replied. She gave a small nod and moved forward. That was all. No explanation needed. Behind us, Sophia was still talking, still performing, still unaware that the room had already changed temperature. Ethan noticed first. His smile faltered slightly, then returned, like he was forcing it to stay. Richard frowned now. Just a little. Not enough for others to notice, but enough for me to see. Victor Grant entered from the side entrance moments later. He stopped when he saw Margaret, then he saw me. That was the moment his expression changed. He walked over immediately. "I didn't expect you." "Here," he said. His voice was lower than before, more careful. "I didn't expect that introduction either," I replied. Victor gave a short laugh, but it didn't carry confidence. "It didn't look great," he said. "That depends on what you knew," I said. He studied me for a second, then looked toward the center of the room again. Sophia was still unaware of Margaret's arrival, still unaware of Victor, still unaware of me standing differently now. Victor leaned closer. "What's happening?" he asked quietly. "Soon," I said. He didn't press further, because something about the room had already told him not to. At the center, Sophia finally raised her glass higher, her voice sharpened slightly. "Everyone," she said, "I want to announce something important tonight." The room slowly quieted again, but this time it felt different. Less willing, more cautious. Ethan stood closer to her. Richard stayed behind her shoulder. She didn't notice Margaret behind me yet. She didn't notice Victor. She didn't notice the shift in people's attention. She only saw what she expected to see. Control. She smiled wider. "Tonight marks a new chapter," she continued, a few polite laughs, a few nods. Ethan looked at her like he was waiting for his name to be validated again. I took one step forward, not into the center, just enough for my presence to register at the edge of her vision. Sophia's eyes flicked toward me. A brief pause, then she smiled again, like I was still part of her controlled version of the night. "Daniel," she said lightly, "you can hear this too. It involves all of us." I nodded once. "Go ahead," I said. The words were simple, but they landed differently. Victor glanced at me. Margaret didn't move. Ethan didn't understand why the room felt tighter suddenly. Richard narrowed his eyes, slightly. Sophia lifted her glass again. "This is something I've been preparing for a long time," she said. She paused, waiting for reaction. She got it, but not the kind she expected, because no one was laughing now. No one was clapping. The silence was forming into something heavier. She frowned slightly, then continued. "I'm officially..." She stopped mid-sentence. Not because she forgot the words, because something shifted behind her. Margaret stepped forward. One step. That was enough. The room reacted instantly. Not loud. Not chaotic. Just still. Ethan turned his head slowly. Richard's face tightened. Sophia finally noticed the change. Her smile faded by half. And I stood there, watching the exact moment her confidence started to break without knowing why. She looked at me. For the first time that night, really looked. And I gave her the same calm look I had all evening. Then I said the words she didn't understand yet. "Go. Ahead," I said again. But this time it wasn't permission, it was timing. Her breath caught slightly, her glass stopped midair, and the room went completely silent, right before everything stopped. The room stayed frozen for a second that felt longer than the entire night. Sophia was still mid-breath. Her glass hovered in the air. Her smile didn't know where to go. Then she tried again. "This is something I've been preparing for a long time," she said, forcing her voice steady. But the sound didn't carry the same way anymore. Margaret Collins stepped forward again. This time, she didn't wait. She placed a folder on the marble table in front of the center crowd. The soft impact of paper against stone cut through the silence. People leaned in without meaning to. Ethan shifted beside Sophia. Richard straightened, his eyes narrowing at the folder. Sophia frowned slightly. "What is this?" she asked. Margaret didn't look at her. She opened the folder instead. Inside were documents, printed pages, signatures lined neatly at the bottom of each one. I watched the room change before a single word was spoken. Curiosity first, then discomfort, then attention sharpening into something heavier. Ethan leaned closer, trying to read upside down. Richard stepped forward one pace. "That's company paperwork," he said slowly. Margaret nodded once. "Yes," she replied. Sophia's voice tightened. "Why are you showing this here?" Margaret finally looked up. "Because this is where it matters," she said. A few people shifted again. No one laughed now. No one drank. The room had stopped pretending. I stayed where I was, not moving, not reacting, just watching the structure collapse in real time. Margaret turned one page slowly, then another. Her voice stayed even. Transfer agreements, operational authority confirmations, board approvals. Each word landed heavier than the last. Ethan stepped back slightly, just one step. But it was noticeable. Richard noticed too. His jaw tightened. "What are you trying to say?" he asked. Margaret closed the folder halfway. "I'm not trying," she said. "I'm confirming." Silence stretched again. Then she said it. "Controlling shares belong to Daniel Hayes." The room didn't react immediately, like it needed time to understand the sentence. Then it did, not loudly, not chaotically, just a shift. A collective recalibration. Same people, different understanding. Sophia blinked once, then again. Her face didn't fully change yet. It was still trying to hold the version of reality she had built. "That's not possible," she said. Her voice was smaller now. Richard turned slowly toward me for the first time with real focus. "What is this?" he asked again, but sharper. I didn't answer, because I didn't need to. Margaret answered for me. "It's already executed," she said. Ethan turned his head toward me fully now. For the first time, the smirk was gone. "Wait," he said quietly. "You're saying—" He stopped, because he realized no one was laughing. No one was reassuring him. Sophia turned to me now. Really turned. Her confidence cracked just slightly at the edges. "You didn't tell me," she said. The room heard it. Looked at her. "You didn't ask," I replied. Simple, flat. No emotion added. That was enough. Her grip tightened on the glass. Richard stepped forward again, but slower this time. "This is a misunderstanding," he said. Margaret shook her head. "It's not," she replied. She turned one final page, then paused. That pause changed everything, because everyone felt it coming. Sophia looked between the papers and me. Her breathing changed slightly. Then Margaret said it. The final approval was signed. Under board supervision. Richard froze. Just a fraction, but I saw it. Then he whispered, "Impossible." Margaret didn't stop. "Signed by you," she added. That was the moment everything broke differently. Richard's eyes widened slightly. "No," he said quickly. "I never—" He stopped, because he was remembering. I saw it in his face. A signature, meeting, a stack of documents, a rushed approval, a night he didn't look closely at. Sophia turned toward him. "What did you sign?" she asked. Her voice was no longer controlled. It was sharp now. Richard didn't answer, because he couldn't. That silence was louder than anything in the room. Ethan took another step back, then another, until he was no longer beside her. He was behind her, detached, separate. Sophia noticed that, too. Her eyes flicked to him. He didn't meet them. That was enough. He was already gone without moving. Victor Grant stepped forward slowly from the side. I watched him carefully. He looked at the documents, then at me. Then something in his expression changed. Not surprise, recognition, respect. He nodded once, then said quietly, "I see it now." No one responded, because no one else was ready to agree with anything yet. Sophia's voice dropped. "This is planned," she said. "This is—" She stopped, because there was nothing left to say that made sense anymore. The structure she built wasn't just cracking. It was already split open. She turned fully to me now, her voice lowered. "You didn't tell me," she said again. I met her eyes. "I didn't need to," I replied. That landed differently this time, not as calm, as final. Ethan stepped away completely now. No announcement, no exit, just disappearance into the crowd like he was trying to become invisible. No one stopped him. No one even looked, because the center of attention had already moved. Richard lowered himself slightly into a chair behind him without realizing it, like his body needed support before his mind did. Sophia stayed standing, but she wasn't steady anymore. Margaret closed the folder. That sound ended the formal part of the night, but not the consequences. The room didn't recover. It just adapted. Victor stepped closer to me now, not hesitant, not uncertain, respectfully. "Now I understand," he said. I gave a small nod, nothing more. Behind him, Sophia looked like she was trying to rebuild her expression. But it wasn't working, because there was nothing left to rebuild from. The version of the night she had controlled was gone. People started moving again slowly, not away, just differently. Distance forming naturally. No one laughed now. No one spoke too loudly. The power in the room had shifted without announcement. I adjusted my watch slightly, same motion as before, but now people noticed. Not because it changed, because they finally saw it. Sophia's eyes followed it. Then back to me. Something in her face changed. Not anger, not disbelief. Something closer to realization. Emma Clark approached later from the side of the hall. She had been there the whole time, but unnoticed. Now she wasn't. "You stayed calm," she said quietly. I looked at her. "I had time," I replied. She studied me for a second, then nodded. Not impressed, just understanding. That was rare. I appreciated it without saying it. Behind her, the room was still shifting, not chaos, not collapse, just quiet redistribution. Weeks passed in silence. No wedding followed, no announcement came. The story that had been so loud that night stopped being told. Sophia didn't approach again. Richard didn't speak to me again. Ethan disappeared from relevance completely. Victor aligned differently after that night, and Margaret returned to her distance like nothing had changed. But something had. Everything had. And through it all, the watch stayed steady, tick after tick, unbothered, unchanged, like it had been waiting for the moment everything else stopped pretending. I looked at it one final time that night. Then I said nothing at all. Because I didn't need to anymore. I stopped explaining myself. Time handled the rest. It always did.